2-week lockdown for Bimini, how residents feel about the news, the touching story of a Kemp Road senior's struggle to survive. Plus, how different will your trip to the gym be after the pandemic?
Our news is brought to you by Alive.
Welcome to Our News and thank you for joining us. I'm Kyle Joaquin. Topping news tonight, 2 Bimini women ages 26 and 39 are the country's newest confirmed cases of COVID-19, pushing the total number to 96. The women are being housed at the government's isolation facility. But the increase in cases on Bimini has prompted Prime Minister Dr. HUBERT MINNIS to order a 2-week lockdown on that island to take effect on Monday. In a national address from the office of the Prime Minister this afternoon, Minnis said while he knows the measure isn't the easiest, it is necessary.
Bimini will be placed on a 2-week lockdown in order to slow and control the community spread of the COVID-19 virus on this island.
The announcement comes a week after health officials said they were seriously considering a full 2-week lockdown for the tiny island. The lockdown takes effect Monday at 9 a.m. and ends midnight on Saturday, May 30th. But there's an extension.
This May date will be extended for a total of 14 days. And this extension will occur as we return to Parliament.
Bimini, for a month now, has been identified as a COVID-19 hotspot with 13 confirmed cases. The island also presented the country's first COVID-19 related death when Kim Johnson-Rolle, a beloved member of that community, died from complications after contracting the virus. Bimini has around 2,000 residents, 100 of whom have already been tested for COVID-19. But with the island now 3 days away from a 2-week lockdown, the Prime Minister assured residents that they won't go without, as there will be sufficient food and medicine on the island.
A lockdown like this is not something that would have been preferred, but it is absolutely necessary because things will get even worse on Bimini if we don't take this strong measure immediately.
Bahamians were quick to react online, with one user calling the lockdown a bit late, saying, "Should have done this after the first death." Another said, "To be honest, this needed to happen." There were also those who feel New Providence should be placed on lockdown as well, like this user who said, "Do it everywhere," throws mic and walks off mumbling. Minnis said had it not been for the weather this week, the 2-week lockdown would have been in place already.
I speak directly to those on Bimini. Though the lockdown may not commence until Monday, we ask your complete cooperation during this entire weekend so that we can bring this matter, this COVID-19 disorder, under control as quickly as possible.
Well, the response from Bimini residents was split, as some welcomed the lockdown with open arms, while others said the government should have considered other options. Jillian Gray has more.
Residents of Bimini had mixed reaction to the Prime Minister's announcement of a 2-week lockdown. While some called it a necessary move, others said it was about 2 steps too early.
A lot of people feel this is like 2 steps too soon. You know, maybe if they had got policing in first and maybe up the policing of the current curfew and the lockdown, they were here, they could question people that are walking around town.
I am 100% all for it. I'm not just thinking about myself. I'm not just thinking about my discomfort. I'm thinking about the health and safety of my 4 children.
The 2-week lockdown comes after medical professionals declared the island a hotspot. Bimini has 13 cases, but not everyone is overly worried. Gilbert Roll Jr. said he feels officials have a handle on contact tracing.
The cases that we are aware of, they're all almost in the same. It's about 3 homes, and so it's not like it's spread about to so many different persons. And it is concerning, but I think they have a good tracing on it. and you have like 4 in a house, 3 in the same house, and so it makes it, on the outside looking in, it makes it look worse than it really is.
Fellow resident Mark Atkin has been living on the island for 17 years. He said the number came as a shock for some, as they considered that figure too low.
We expected it to be a lot higher. I mean, when they came over in testing and once 1 or 2 people got it, the fact that there's only 13 positive cases now in BIMINI, the surprises a lot of us. We really thought it would be higher than that.
Many of the people we spoke to agreed that residents are not good at social distancing and feel that more testing should be done. Some said they expect crowding at stores tomorrow. Atkins said he is concerned for those who can barely provide food for their family for 1 week, let alone 2.
I feel for families in town. I know for grocery shopping, I saw the announcement he made. I guess he said that they're going to make sure no one goes hungry. You know, we just don't have the details of how they're going to do that. But so that'll be interesting. I know families here have, you know, small fridges, big families. It's hard to plan for 2 weeks. Every other time we've made an announcement or some sort of rumor of a lockdown, it's been chaos in town in the stores.
It's a concern shared by Gateway Outreach Ministries assistant pastor, who said for 6 weeks they've had to help families in need. Rolle added that hopefully officers can work with them to provide food to the most vulnerable during the lockdown.
I hope that even in this time with the lockdown, that, you know, the police officers will work with even us or whoever, those who can help others, because, you know, we may have to send plate of foods to families who don't have.
Reporting for our News, I'm Jillian Gray.
Additional officers of the Royal Bahamas Defense Force and the police force are being sent to Bimini for the 2-week lockdown. In the event of an emergency, a resident is able to seek the permission of the Commissioner of Police or the officer in command of the island to leave his place of residence by calling 311 or the nearest police station.
Additional support, security, and enforcement of the lockdown will be provided by the Royal Bahamas Police Force. Various measures are being taken to ensure the safety of essential workers on the island, including the use of PPEs.
During the lockdown, healthcare workers may conduct home visits, while public healthcare workers are permitted to attend the clinic to treat patients in need of urgent care. Any person who contravenes the order is liable to a fine of $10,000 or 18 months in prison, or both.
And I ask and I urge all Biminites to initiate all disciplinary measure possible and practice social distancing even before the lockdown commences.
While the government has placed on hold return flights of Bahamian citizens and residents, more than 500 people in 2 U.S. states are seeking to get back to the Bahamas. More than 300 people have advised the consulate in Miami that they want to return, and more than 200 have registered with the Atlanta consulate. However, it is unclear when the Prime Minister will give the green light for these flights to resume. MINNIS said on Sunday he was advised by health officials to temporarily suspend return flights pending the investigation into a matter involving a Grand Bahama man who tested positive for COVID-19 but flew home on Friday. Health officials reported on Tuesday that the man has since tested negative for COVID-19. Well, the economic fallout prompted by the COVID-19 pandemic has pushed more Bahamians towards the poverty line, but there are those who were struggling even before the pandemic. Disabled senior citizen Philip LIGHTBOURNE, who has lived in a rat-infested one-room unit for nearly a year, is one of those people. Jasmine Brown has his story.
LIGHTBOURNE says the situation is less than ideal and sometimes depressing. However, he says it's the best he can do for himself.
I wish a lot more, you know what I mean? The last 2-3 days, I could, you know what I mean, manage. Like so sometimes, like if I walk like from here, see what that black thing is on the corner out there? And I wish why is there. You know what I mean? Like it comes on, you know, like a sudden like, you know, like when something just hit you unexpected. That's when it's beating my leg. It's just giving I'll fall.
Philip Lightbourne is 66 years old and unemployed. He is also disabled and uses a cane to get around. The KEMP Road resident lives in a one-room unit where the entryway is nothing more than rocks piled on top of each other. Lightbourne said the rough floors exacerbate the issue, and he has trouble even getting around his home because of it. Lightbourne says money is so tight he cannot even afford pain medication.
Things are sticking. I wrote it.
While there is no running water and no electricity, a single toilet bowl is tucked into a corner. But much of the small room is taken up by a dusty mattress and plastic bottles that he uses to transfer water from a nearby pump. On the floor is food that was donated by Teen Challenge Bahamas on Thursday morning, but in a matter of moments, the food has attracted rats. Despite the conditions, Lightbourne says he just wants to keep a roof over his head. He said the $125 a month rent takes up a large chunk of his disability check from NIB, which amounts to roughly $330 a month.
That's what I have to use. That's why he's surviving off.
As the COVID-19 pandemic continues to take its toll on the Bahamian economy, the struggles of the destitute have been brought to the forefront. In a press conference on Sunday, Prime Minister Dr. HUBERT MINNIS warned Bahamians that difficult times and decisions lie ahead. However, he assured that nobody will go hungry. But Lightbourne says COVID-19 has only brought a new wave of hopelessness. He says he has only survived this far because of the kindness of others.
I appreciate it. Lot, you know.
Reporting for our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Thanks, Jasmine. Still to come, a mother mourns the tragic loss of her son on his birthday. Plus, we venture inside the National Reference Lab. Stay tuned. A mother is tonight mourning the death of her son who died recently at a pool party on his birthday. Jared Higgs reports.
May 3rd was supposed to be a day of celebration for LAVON Williams.
I sent him a text that morning wishing him a happy birthday.
Williams turned 23 that day, and despite the country being on lockdown, his mother, KNOWLES, says he was spending the day with some neighbors in their pool.
He responded back by saying, "Thank you, Mommy." And that was the last word I've gotten from him.
What happened next shook Knowles' world. According to police, paramedics were called to a residence on Sherman Drive when they got word that a man was found at the bottom of a pool. They tried to revive him, but he died at hospital.
I got there, I saw the paramedics, and really and truly the only thing that I could remember in my right normal mind was my prayers.
Our News sat down with the grieving mother at her Ardastra Estates home. She says she has coped with her son's death by leaning on her faith.
LAVON was a very cheerful person. He was full of life. He loved families and friends. He loved the water. He loved diving, fishing.
Knowles says her son leaves behind a 7-month-old baby girl. She says the young man was nervous about being a father, but he was excited about raising his daughter.
He loved Liel. He was always supportive to her. And when she born, he was like, "Mommy, I can't do it by myself. I'm going to need your support." I said, "LAVON, you know you always have my support."
Williams was also a passionate junkanoo and a member of the Valley Boys brass section where he played trumpet. It was a match made in heaven, says his mom.
LAVON loved excitement. He loved excitement. He was never a dull person. He was much more alive than any of my kids, more high-spirited. He was never fearful.
Williams' mother says her son shared a special relationship with his father. He also leaves behind a younger brother and an older sister.
I say 3 because he will always be with me.
The grieving mother wants her son to have a proper funeral, but she knows that with the current restrictions in place, it may not be possible. She says, like with everything else, she's praying about it. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jared Higgs.
All right, thanks, Jared. Well, from the very beginning, health officials have relied on the real-time PCR testing. This gold standard test has proven to be the most accurate and reliable in calculating the official numbers. The National Reference Laboratory is pivotal in providing those numbers. It's where all testing is done to determine new infections. Jerome Sawyer recently visited the facility.
This story is brought to you by J.S. Johnson, Insurance Agents and Brokers, giving you peace of mind.
Whenever an epidemic threatens, whether it be HIV/AIDS or the novel coronavirus known as COVID-19, the National Reference Laboratory is responsible for testing. Dr. Indira Martin is the director here. She leads the team responsible for identifying the new cases.
Right now, because all of the COVID testing is manual rather than automated, it's been a great uptick in the work that's happening up here.
Swabs collected from tests are delivered here. Shanaria Whitfield, a 6-year medical technologist, begins the process to finding the results.
So when we open the package, you can see here that this is a container in which it is properly sealed. If I was to open the container and show you, there is an ice pack that keeps the sample cool, because in transport or transit, you have certain conditions. It could be too hot, and so this ensures that the sample is kept in a cool condition.
Handling a deadly virus has its risks, but it's nothing new for a team used to working with infectious diseases.
Well, working in the lab for about 6 years, we were taught that we should treat any sample as infectious. So you never let down your guard, irrespective of what the sample is. And we trust our PPEs, that these are designed to keep us well protected.
Samples are kept to confirm results and frozen for future studies.
It's kept in order to confirm, to repeat and confirm, but it's also kept as like a library or an archive.
Future sample studies will help to answer a lot of questions like how the virus got here, which particular strain came, and how it moved within the population. Reporting for our News, I'm Jerome Sawyer.
All right, thanks, Jerome. Still to come, Shell honors moms. Stay tuned. You're watching Our News. Welcome back. As New Providence residents continue to line up outside businesses offering curbside service during the week, PLP Chairman Fred Mitchell said it's obvious that people are starting to ignore emergency measures.
The problem we have is that in the long term, if you're a public administrator, you know that you can only bottle people up for a certain period of time. Dr. Brennan, who's the deputy on the government's task force, said that it's unsustainable to keep people bottled up for long periods of time. So what is happening is the government is the people of the country are simply ignoring the government. The social pressure, the economic pressure is simply too much. People will just start to ignore it.
Mitchell said it's time for officials to determine a new way forward.
Instead of putting themselves in a position where the law is being ignored, you as a public administrator have a responsibility to keep up with the people, and that is to be where they are. And so the things ought to be adjusted to allow for this economy to open up again with the requisite strictures to make sure that our health is protected to the extent that we can.
A touching moment for a mother and daughter yesterday as they walked away with some pretty cool prizes from Shell. Carla Sabala said she entered Shell's promotion on social media, not for the prizes, but just for the platform to express just how much her mother, 85-year-old Corinne Sabala, means to her. The two embraced in tears as she shared their story.
So one day isn't enough for me to just recognize her. It's just that this year, with everything that's going on, I wasn't there to prepare a meal for her. But that's coming up. And I just want to tell my mom that I love her so much And I wouldn't be the woman that I am today without her. Thank you.
Winners received an amazing meal prepared by an award-winning chef, along with gift bags filled with Shell fuel vouchers and Bahamian-made gifts. Sun Oil Marketing Manager Rufus Johnson Jr. said the competition invited everyone to share their love and appreciation for their mother and on Facebook and Instagram.
Shell runs this competition in honor of our mothers who work so hard and are so dedicated to getting us to where we are throughout the year. And so we wanted to take this moment just to pause, to honor them and to present them with these gifts in appreciation for all that they do throughout the year.
Still to come, how your gym experience could change post-COVID-19. Stay tuned. Finally, in news tonight, your next trip to the gym may be a bit different on the other side of the COVID-19 pandemic, as some fitness spots will require you to wear a mask while working out. It's one of the changes you could see at McFit 360, which is working on a new facility. 5 months out from its scheduled opening date, construction has resumed on the new western location for McFit 360. The $3 million facility is expected to be one of the biggest in the region and offer everything from saunas to an outdoor pool. But your time in the gym will be a bit different once they reopen, according to McFit President Jimmy Mackey. For starters, you'll have to work out in your mask.
Kind of revamp our procedures, opening, closing, sanitizer stations. Every member has to wear a face mask, has to. Bring your own towel.
The amount of people allowed in the gym at a time will also be a factor. Mackey said as the gym is a place where people touch machines and equipment, keeping them clean and sanitized is priority.
I mean, I'm talking restrooms, locker rooms, cardio machines.
For the first time, Mackey has allowed cameras inside the new location where construction crews were at work on the facility that he hopes will revolutionize the way exercise and training are done with a cryotherapy or ice chamber, Pilates, and spin studios. And while there's a lot that will happen on the inside with private spaces for personal training, Mackey said outside will be something to see as well, with a 25-meter pool and 45-yard turf.
Swimming is probably one of the best when in terms of low-impact exercises. And we're going to have where we do swim lessons. I mean, the whole nine, and it's actually all access to all members. So if you have a membership, you can actually use the pool at any time at your own leisure. And then right over here in this area here, we're going to have a whole outdoor experience. So we're going to have a whole turf area. I think that's about from point A to point B right here is about 100 feet. So it's about a little over 45 yards in terms of, sprinting room.
Reporting for our news, I'm Kyle Joaquin. Thank you for joining us for Our News tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Kyle Joaquin. Remember, you can catch Our News on the go with the RevGo Play app. Stay tuned for a brand new episode of On the Record with host Jerome Sawyer. Have a good evening, mamas.